Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm very excited to talk to you today because we're going to be learning about how execution, not strategy, is going to make the big win in 2026. And in order to do that, I got myself Liza Amlani, and she's with the Retail Strategy Group. I'm Glenn Haussman. Great to see you, Liza.
I'm so excited to be here and to talk to you about retail.
Yeah, I'm excited to really talk all retail. But in order for us to understand this conversation, I need to learn a little bit about what you do at Retail Strategy Group.
Okay. Well, before I tell you what we do, I'm going to take it back like a couple of decades, 3 decades.
That's all?
Okay, yeah, just 3 decades.
Yep.
So I actually started on the shop floor in my teenage years. But what happened was I really fell in love with the customers, the shop floor, product. I was so excited to go into the stores and walk the malls and obviously shop a little bit, but really excited about the interaction. Okay, that's just one part of it.
I mean, just so you know, I'm a little bit older than you, so I spent the entire 80s in malls and working in malls.
Did you?
So, yes.
Oh, where did you work?
I've worked at places like Toys R Us. I worked at The Gap and, and then some food stuff too.
Okay, exciting. So, see, we do have things in common.
I know. So tell me more
Okay.
about your history.
After working in retail on the shop floor, I was really excited about a career in retail.
Right.
So I went and got my degree in fashion, and my first role, I wanted to be a buyer, but I actually started in design. So if anyone watches FIFA, I designed all the bags for FIFA World Cup 2002.
That's
My
amazing.
claim to fame. But I actually ended up in the world of buying. So I was a merchant for over 20 years, mostly a fashion apparel brand, some accessories, worked on both sides of the spectrum. So with brands and also with department stores. So really saw the entire value chain around buying and merchandising. I worked with Ralph Lauren on and off for 20 years, many brands, Club Monaco, department stores, etc. Then I actually was picked up by Accenture, and I was their retail merchant SME. So I helped write Future of Merchandising, worked at a very large brand out of Beaverton. And that's where I really learned about the world of consulting and how I wanted to help the industry move forward, move faster, move smarter. And started Retail Strategy Group in November 2020.
Wow. And already,
Pandemic.
she's a Rethink Retail Top expert for the 5th time.
5th year in a row.
Right out of the gate, and now 2nd year being an RF retail voice. And there's only 50 of those. And as we're recording this at the conference, the convention here, there's more like 40,000 people here. So you do the math. That's pretty impressive.
It is. And honestly, like this industry, it doesn't feel like work. It's so exciting. And what I really wanted to do was take my learnings from my 20 plus years of industry experience, what I learned at some of these big brands that I worked with, and took that knowledge and worked with brands. And that's what I do today. So I'm an executive advisor. I work with retail brands across fashion, apparel, accessories, also adjacent categories. And we look at really innovating the process. Which brings me to real life.
Check it out. Brand new book, The Material Life, Process Innovation for Retailers and Brands. And that's really what you were telling me before we got on here is the real future right now in retail.
It really is. I mean, if you catch any of the sessions at the show, what we're hearing CEOs and leaders like Fran Horowitz and even David Lauren talking about how we need to get faster to market, but we also need to do it in a smart way. Retail is very accustomed to working in silos. And I think you'll find that across any industry.
Oh, it's definitely like that across any industry. But where you're so fortunate is you get to see so many different things and being able to draw all of these disparate things together to create wholly unique solutions that benefit all of your clients.
Absolutely. Which led us to write the Material Life. What we've found is that process innovation is truly the most underrated opportunity in the fashion supply chain. So what do I mean by that? So we talk about materials here, but it's really across entire concept to market, all the way to the shop floor and how we connect with the customer.
Why do you think that is?
Well, bringing up retail silos, for example, it's very common for cross-functional leaders like across merchandising, across sourcing, product development, design, marketing, even like heads of retail who manage physical stores. And of course, e-com and omni, right? It's very common for them to work in these retail silos and just really focus on their own function. So if you visualize a rowboat, right, you have the coxswain in the front, but if every rower is going in different directions, they're not going to go anywhere, right?
I'm also kind of thinking of it as an auto assembly line. Everyone is fixed just on their specific task and aren't seeing everything on a day-to-day basis.
Seeing the big picture, looking at the business from the business in its entirety.
Right.
That's something that's actually lacking right now. So if we think about process innovation, we are bringing these teams together at the right moments in time when they're creating the product and elevating relationships internally and externally to partners versus being service providers.
Right. So let's break all this down and get in a more specific direction, right? We talked about silos and stuff, and that probably causes a lot of problem between the executive level and the store level. So why is execution like really breaking down so often at that store level?
So
we got a sigh. That's not good.
We have a sigh only because I've seen it myself.
Yeah.
Working in the industry for 20 years at the corporate office, what you don't see is leaders in that corporate office. They're making these decisions that impact the customer, the shop floor, or even their e-com site, but they're not actually putting themselves in their customer's shoes.
Right.
And in my last industry role, I was a merchant leader. I was head of buying for the Lauren brand, for Ralph Lauren, for Northern Europe, UK, Ireland, Scandinavia, Baltics. And I would make it a point, I would always be in the stores, even if it was before I was going into the office or after market visits. I was in the store talking to customers, talking to our competition, trying on product, talking to my salespeople. And that really helped me to understand why people were buying and why they were not buying.
Interesting. All right. So then tell me about what separates technology that really improves execution versus just, I don't know, sounding good on a report to make the executives happy.
Yeah, that is actually an incredible question for where we are today.
Yeah.
Because we are surrounded by technology and shiny objects, as I like to call them.
Right. Yeah.
What tends to happen is because these leaders are so far removed from the execution, whether it is design, merchandising, planning, allocation, or in-store, let's say, any sort of in-store technology solutions or processes, they're so far removed from it. So when they decide to bring in a technology, they'll just say, okay, bring this in. It's a new shiny object.
Right.
Oh my God, we need to get AI in the shop floor right now. We need to get AI in our planning systems. But what happens is they're not really looking to solve the challenges that the user is actually facing.
Right.
What I have seen number of times is solutions being onboarded. Retailers are very accustomed to large tech stacks that don't talk to each other and manual spreadsheets, workarounds, band-aids, if you will.
And I call it solutions looking for problems a lot of the time.
That's actually a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And there's duct tape, everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So when we're not really thinking about what are we trying to solve, where do we want to go? How do we get from point A to point B? And what are the different options for us to get there? But also, how do we innovate our op model to support the different technologies that we're bringing in? Because what we're finding is that, I'll give you the example of concept to market and the calendar and how we actually go from design to market. A lot of those processes have not changed in decades.
Right.
Or the retailer internally is trying to manage that process and change it, but they're not actually innovating the process. They're just adding line items, and it's taking longer.
They think they're solving a problem, but the opposite is true. They're complicating it for the associates.
Overly complicating. Yes.
So how should executives be thinking about simplifying technology that removes friction from the associates' lives so they could focus on what's important, making customers feel loved so they'll keep coming back and spending more?
So what I advise a lot of the executives that I work with and market leaders that I'm in touch with is you really have to balance the tech and touch. So the more technology you have, the more human touch is needed, right? So it's really finding the right balance of that and leaning into what works for your teams based on how you're going to change the cultures of those teams.
Yeah, and I would argue that humanity with people versus people is more important now than it's ever been. Technology is great, but really what makes that secret sauce is how people relate to other people. And when you remove the friction from the process, it allows folks to really focus on that sort of thing. So, where are you seeing right now, like strategy kind of breaks down, and what's one easy place the folks in the offices can start to focus on?
So in terms of process innovation, it can really happen across the retail end to end.
Yeah.
And when I talk to market leaders and executives that I work with, I say, where are you finding that friction?
Right.
Are you bringing the teams together to determine, do they even understand another function's responsibilities and roles and accountabilities? And let's start to bring those discussions into the right rooms at the right time.
Right.
Now, that's a very complicated way to say, talk to your people,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Because if you want to impact change, innovate how you're going to market, using technology to get there, I think it's important to ask the teams, like, what is really happening? What is happening? Where are they finding friction? Where are the challenges? And let's lean into those outcomes by actually opening up those doors of conversation.
This is the type of thing that drives me kind of crazy, because you're really looking to take out those operational efficiencies, right?
Yeah.
And there's got to be something that's like almost super simple, but they're missing it because they're not entrenched talking to their people every day. Could you give me an example of maybe some low-hanging fruit in that kind of area?
Yes. I've experienced this myself as a former retailer, where I spend so much time creating the right collection, the right assortment, buying the right quantities, spending my retailer's budgets as a buyer.
Yep.
And when I say we work on this for months, we're working on this also a year ahead of when the product will actually be in stores. There is a massive disconnect between merchandising strategy and merchandising execution on the shop floor.
Right.
Because what we're finding is that a lot of time spent in building the right assortment, having the marketing to support it, but there is no support or investment, or not enough, in training shop floor associates or having visual merchandising teams to connect the storytelling to bring that customer into the collections and make them come alive. Because we are in the business of retail. We want full price sales, but that doesn't happen unless you execute at market.
All right. So a lot of people are probably saying, we do that, we do this, we do everything. How can somebody be honest with themselves to really evaluate the reality as opposed to living in what they think is the reality?
Well, they need to get out of the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And
get back to the stores.
To get onto the shop floor, they need to shop their own sites, find where the friction is. I was recently in Vancouver and I was shopping on Robson Street, and I don't really want to call this store out, but it was a beautiful store, beautiful experience, showroom experience, furniture and home decor accessories. Excellent customer service. But the sales associate was not encouraged to make the sale in the store.
Really?
Because the leadership team says, we hope the customer will walk away and buy online on our DTC site.
Why? You spending all this money to have the store?
Because they're like, we have a great experience in the store, so we know you're going to buy. Okay. Amazing.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, maybe it'll be fine, right? So we went home and we wanted to buy a sofa, and we wanted to buy a couple of rugs and some coffee tables. And there was so much friction in trying to check out that we had to open a chat. We had to create a ticket. I mean, if we didn't love the product so much, and because I knew the quality of the product was there and it would be great when we got it, but if I was anyone else, guaranteed that brand would have lost the sale.
That's really sad. So the brands are trying to make change and they implement new changes. So how do you create an environment where the change becomes permanent as opposed to it kind of fades off after a while?
I mean, change management is a huge discussion, especially in retail. And we do see a lot of failures around change management. And that is truly because we are not involving the teams that are actually doing the work to choose the solutions. Teams and users should be walking NRF. They should be. It shouldn't be the CTO. Of course, they need to walk the floor too, but the actual users need to walk the shop floor. They are the conference floor. Sorry, see, I'm like, okay. I'm like, everything's retail. But they need to actually see, okay, is this going to work for my everyday tasks? Is this going to augment? Is it going to assist the way that I have to output and also input any information that's going to help me do my job better? Because today, I think that mental health is a big challenge, especially across retail. And I call it retail because we haven't changed the ways we've been working.
No, we haven't changed the way that it's been working, and customers have become more, I'll just be polite and say, more complicated to deal with.
Yes, of course, they're fickle, right?
That's a word.
Yes. Well, in Vancouver, for example, I could have gone to any online retailer or any store. Even I could have gone to IKEA, which has great customer service, very easy to shop, and no friction, really no friction. So I decided that, you know what, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to continue this journey. But a handful of customers react that way. Many will walk away because we have so many choices.
Right. All right. So let's look forward to this year, right? As we're recording this at the beginning of 2026. So what are going to make companies outperform operationally versus merely those that are going to kind of tread water and survive this year?
I think they really need to walk in their customers' shoes, their employees' shoes, to really understand where is the friction, how can we innovate, how can we do better, always be leveling up, always be looking forward, and, you know, buy the material life, buy the wholesale, of course. We actually talk about not only how to create assortments, but really how to innovate the process. And we cover all those concepts in the book. We have found that many of our clients have onboarded a lot of the stuff that we have in the material life. And we have found that their materials teams, their sourcing teams, even their merchant and design teams and marketing teams are breaking down those silos because they want to collaborate. They want to work together.
Awesome. I love it. Well, I think the only thing left to ask you is how can people find the books and how can people learn more about you and Retail Strategy Group?
Well, number one, we have a newsletter called The Merchant Life.
Nice.
I am the merchant. So
the chief
merchant and principal of Retail Strategy Group. And you can find me on Retail Strategy Group's website. I post a lot on LinkedIn, on IG. You can find me very easily. And you can buy the books on our website or on Amazon or directly through our publisher, which is Routledge.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here. Hey, we got Liza. Amlani. I'm Glenn Haussman. See you later. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. And thanks to Axonify. They're the best.